Hello, and welcome to the ISSMA Academy and Phase 2 of our Adjudicator Certification Training. I'm Mark Middleton, Instrumental Education Director for the Indiana State School Music Association. If you're watching this video, you should have already completed Phase 1 of the training by either attending the Phase 1 training session at the IMEA conference in January of 2016, or by watching the online video on the ISSMA Academy website. In Phase 2 of the Adjudicator certification process, we will focus on endorsement training for specific events offered by ISSMA throughout the year. District JME and high school organization festivals have been examined in a previous video session on this website. In this session, we will examine district solo and ensemble festivals for winds, percussion, and strings. Let's begin by reviewing the recognized events for each instrument family offered at the ISSMA Solo and Ensemble festivals. In the woodwind family, solo events are offered for piccolo, C flute, alto and bass flute, oboe, English horn, bassoon, E-flat clarinet, B-flat clarinet, alto clarinet, bass clarinet, contrabass and contralto clarinet, alto sax, tenor sax, baritone sax, bass sax, and soprano sax. Woodwind ensemble offerings include trios, quartets, quintets, sextets, and large ensembles that range from 7 to 20 members. Many of these ensembles have specific instrumentation requirements, while the miscellaneous ensembles, event numbers 28, 33, 41, and 45, may contain any combination of woodwinds not previously listed. Brass solo offerings include trumpet and cornet, flugelhorn, French horn, mellophone and alto horn, trombone, bass trombone, baritone and euphonium, and tuba and sousaphone. Brass ensemble offerings coincide with those offered for woodwinds, including trios, quartets, quintets, sextets, and large ensembles or choirs of 7 to 20 members. As with the woodwind ensembles, many brass ensemble offerings have specific instrumentation requirements, while event numbers 69, 75, 81, and 86 are miscellaneous ensembles that may contain any combination of brass instruments not previously listed. Solo offerings in the percussion family include drum set, xylophone, marimba, and vibraphone, orchestra bells in group 5 and 4 only, snare drum, timpani, multiple percussion, and multi-tenor. Percussion ensembles follow a somewhat different format than those in the woodwind and brass offerings, consisting of percussion and mallet ensembles for 3 to 6 performers, large percussion and mallet ensembles for 7 to 20 performers, and large marching percussion ensembles of 7 to 20 performers. Finally, solo offerings in the string family include violin, viola, cello, and string bass. String ensemble offerings include trios, quartets, quintets, and sextets. Again, some of these are for specific instrumentations, while events 133, 138, 140, and 144 are miscellaneous ensembles for any combination of strings not listed. The large string ensemble and like string instrument choir may both contain 7 to 20 performers. The string wind ensemble may contain 3 to 20 performers performing chamber literature written for a combination of winds and strings, such as the Bach-Brandenburg Concerti or the Mozart Clarinet Quintet in A. The string piano ensemble for 3 to 5 performers is similar, utilizing chamber literature for piano and strings, such as the Schubert Trout Quintet or the Brahms piano trios. All solo and ensemble events follow a 5-tiered classification system based on grade level, difficulty of the music performed, and the experience ability level of the student performers. Although this material was already covered in the Phase 1 training, here is a quick review. Group 5 would consist of students in grades 5 through 8 performing very easy music. This classification is reserved for inexperienced, first-time entrants in a solo and ensemble event. Group 4 events are geared towards beginning students in grades 5 through 9 performing easy-level music. This classification would be for mostly first or second year players. Group 3 solo and ensembles involve developing and intermediate level students in grades 5 through 12 performing medium-easy to medium music. At the Group 2 level, students in grades 5 through 12 would perform medium to medium difficult music. This classification is for more advanced student performers that are not quite at Group 1 level ability. Group 1 level is the highest classification, consisting of the most proficient students in grades 5 through 12 playing difficult music from the current required music lists for each instrument family. Group 1 solo and ensembles that earn a gold rating at the district level are eligible to perform at State Solo and Ensemble Festival. This 5-tiered classification system allows directors to enter their students in appropriate group levels based on the criteria for each, as well as allowing students to progress through the different group levels as they develop and mature in their musical and technical abilities. Students that receive a gold rating are encouraged to move up to the next highest group level the following year, with the ultimate goal being a gold rating in Group 1. As an adjudicator, you may be listening to events in several different group levels in the same adjudication day, so it's very important to be aware of what group level you are judging and what the criteria are for that particular classification. Let's now examine some general guidelines for all ISSMA solo and ensemble events. All entries must perform in the group level in which they are entered. This information is indicated at the top of the sheet. The exception to this is a Group 1 event which is not performing a piece from the required music list for that event. Such entries will be judged in Group 2. This infraction should be indicated in the box at the bottom of the adjudication sheet, and notification should be made to the office. Performance time should be no more than the scheduled time for the event minus 1 minute. Group 4 and 5 solos operate on a 5-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 4 minutes. Solos in Groups 3, 2, and 1 are on a 6-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 5 minutes. Group 4 and 5 ensembles run on a 5-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 4 minutes. Ensembles in Groups 3, 2, and 1 are on a 6-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 5 minutes. All large ensembles run on an 8-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 7 minutes. Large percussion ensembles operate on a 10-minute schedule, so the maximum performance time should be 9 minutes. A judge may stop an event which runs past its allotted time. The judge, however, should not stop a performance and ask that it be restarted at another point in the composition or stop the performance before the allotted time has elapsed. Suitable cuts can be made by the student performers or teachers if the composition being performed exceeds the time allotted for that event. If cuts are made, the total performance must demonstrate the overall demands of the composition. The cuts should be clearly marked in the music. Solos or ensembles may elect to perform one movement from a multi-movement piece to meet the time requirements for the event. In a Group 1 event, the movement chosen would need to demonstrate and meet the demands of a Group 1 composition. Attempts have been made in the latest woodwind and brass manual revisions to include standardized cuts and specific movement requirements when possible for pieces that exceed the time limit requirements for the particular event. Group 1 events must play literature from the ISSMA required manual. Each judge that will be adjudicating Group 1 events will be provided with a copy of the required list for the events in their room. When there is no required list for an approved ensemble entering in Group 1, a composition may be selected from the required list of another event category in the same instrument family and arranged for that ensemble. Or, an appropriate composition may be used which does not appear on a required list, but is written for the correct instrumentation of the performing ensemble. Solo and ensemble performances are open auditions. Anyone is allowed in the room to listen to the event. Memorization is not required for instrumental solos at district or state. Percussion scales, arpeggios, drum set patterns, and timpani roll requirements must be performed from memory. Snare drum rudiments must be performed by memory only at state, not at district. Solos and ensembles may be performed with or without piano accompaniment. Piano or recorded piano are the only recognized accompaniment instruments. Other instruments may not be used for accompaniment. The Smart Music Accompaniment program may be used, but it must be set for the piano sound and be played in the key indicated on the music. If harpsichord is the only keyboard option, it may be used. Each event must provide the judge with a score having all performed measures numbered. The penalty for not having measures numbered is 1 division lower. The penalty for not providing a complete musical score to the judge is also 1 division rating lower. You may want to post a sign outside your door as a helpful reminder stating all performed measures must be numbered. Individual parts are not an acceptable alternative to a full score for ensemble events. A piano part that contains all instrumental parts is acceptable for both solos and ensembles. Any infraction of this type should be circled in the box at the bottom of the sheet. The purpose of listing publishers in the required list manuals is to ensure that a simplified version of the music is not used. If the publisher on the music being performed in a Group 1 event does not match the publisher listed in the required manual, check to see that the music is not a simplified arrangement or version of the original, and that the composer-arranger matches the listing. If the edition being used is obviously a true representation of the original piece and of the Group 1 level difficulty, it is acceptable. If it is not the edition in the manual and has been edited or simplified in any way, the event should be judged for rating in Group 2 rather than in Group 1. If an event gives you a photocopied part or score, do not add points to their score or penalize the performer in any way, as they most likely had nothing to do with the situation. You may provide a written comment on the bottom of the adjudication sheet to the director that original music should be provided due to federal copyright law. If an event does not appear at the time indicated on the schedule, hold on to the sheet until you have official word that the event will not appear, or until the end of the day, whichever comes first. At that point, mark the sheet DNA and turn it in to contest headquarters. From time to time, check to make sure that the doorkeeper is posting ratings on the schedule outside your room. Let's now examine some specific information about solo events. A student may not enter 2 different solos in the same event, or perform the same selection in 2 different events, such as piccolo and flute, or trombone and euphonium. Should you encounter either of these situations, first listen to the event perform, give written commentary on the sheet but do not assign points, refer the student to the contest headquarters after they perform, and notify the event host of the situation so they can make the determination of the proper ruling. The required Group 1 list for event number 2, flute solos, is divided into 2 separate sections, accompanied and unaccompanied. Make sure to use both sections of the list when checking the 3-digit required numbers for Group 1 flute events. Alto and bass flute solos may also select compositions from the flute solo list that are suitable for the alto or bass flute, in addition to the list for alto and bass flute in the Woodwind manual. Bass saxophone solos may choose from the tenor saxophone list in addition to the list for bass saxophone specifically. E-flat soprano clarinet, bass clarinet, contralto and contrabass clarinet, baritone saxophone, and soprano saxophone now have their own expanded lists and do not share lists with other instruments. Event number 53, mellophone and alto horn solos, now has its own independent list. Selections that are specified for alto horn only are indicated as such on the list. Bass trombone solos and euphonium baritone solos have their own independent lists that have been expanded to include selections from other required lists. Students entering either of these events must play a selection from the indicated list. For string solo events, any standard, unabridged, or unarranged edition may be used in addition to those listed in the string required manual. Also regarding string solos, any major movement or combination of contrasting significant movements from within a piece may be performed as long as what is performed demonstrates a level of difficulty representative of Group 1 level. Concerning time limitations for string solos, lengthy repeats, such as double expositions in a sonata form, should be cut. Any lengthy piano passages, such as introductions or interludes, should be cut. Cadenzas may also be cut. Repetitious passages of similar material, as would be found in a typical rondo form, may be cut. However, difficult or challenging passages should not be cut just for the sake of time limits. Here are some items to consider when adjudicating instrumental ensemble events. Instrumental ensembles must perform a minimum of 3-part music. They may not perform totally in unison, nor are duets a recognized event. Ensembles entered in Group 5 through 2 may double parts, such as a group of 5 clarinets playing a quartet piece, with 1 part doubled. Ensembles with 1 performer missing, i.e. a quartet with only 3 performers, will be judged for comment only. This would also apply to large ensembles with 7 to 20 members performing with 6 or less members. Ensembles of any type may perform with fewer entrants than listed on the sheet, provided that all parts of the music are covered. Judges should not change the number of performers at the top of the adjudication sheet. Any changes of that sort will be made at contest headquarters. Small ensembles, those with 3 to 6 members, shall perform without direction. The penalty for anyone in the room directing an ensemble of this type is 1 division rating lower. The exception to this rule is a student that is a performing member of the ensemble, and they may start or direct the ensemble. Large ensembles, those with 7 to 20 members, may be directed by a student director. The student may or may not be a performing member of the ensemble. They must also be counted in the total of 7 to 20 performers. The same ensemble may not perform twice in the same event. An ensemble is considered a different entry if half or more of the members are new or different. In this case, that ensemble could perform in the same event, but could not perform the same music. If you encounter any of these scenarios and aren't sure what to do, listen to the event perform, provide written comments but not points, refer the students to the contest headquarters after they perform, and notify the event host of the situation so they may help you with a resolution. When adjudicating Group 1 ensembles, woodwind, brass, and string trios, quartets, quintets, and sextets must perform with the same number of parts as indicated in the music. There can be no doubling of parts in these events for Group 1. Large ensembles with 7 to 20 members may double parts when appropriate. Ensembles must use the instrumentation specified in the score and for that event. If transposed or cued instrumentation is used, the ensemble must be entered in one of the miscellaneous ensemble events. The exception to this guideline would be large ensembles entered in events 46, 47, 48, 90, 113, and 145, where printed and transposed or cued parts may be substituted. Concerning string ensembles, any string trio event or any string quartet event may use a direct transcription of ensembles from any of the 3 trio or quartet required lists. In that case, a correct score in the correct clef for each part or instrument must be provided for the judge. The large string ensemble can be a combination of any stringed instrumentation that appropriately covers all parts of the musical score. This event may also use selections from the quartet, quintet, or sextet event lists. Like string instrument choirs, event number 148 has no required list, but may use compositions from string trio or string quartet lists, including events 130, 131, 133, 135, and 138. Keyboard continuo parts in the score are not required to be performed. Before the performance of each event, check the adjudication sheet for correct information, including performer's name, school, event number, group level, and required selection number for Group 1 events only. A Group 1 entry may perform a different selection than the one listed on the sheet as long as it is on the required list for that event. You should indicate the change on the score sheet by writing in the 3-digit number of the new selection from the required list for that event. If the new selection does not appear on the required list, the event should be judged in Group 2 for a rating. The infraction should be indicated in the box at the bottom of the sheet, and contest headquarters should be notified. You should allow accompanists time to warm up and get a feel for the piano, as well as allowing performers to tune to the piano or each other in the case of an ensemble. Both of these things can take place while you are finishing your written assessment of the previous event. Let's take a closer look now at the assessment tools that you will use as an adjudicator at an ISSMA solo and ensemble event, the official adjudicator's comment sheet. All woodwind, brass, and string solo events will use the instrumental solo sheet, while woodwind, brass, and string ensembles of all varieties will be evaluated with the instrument ensemble sheet. All percussion ensemble events will use the percussion ensemble sheet, while all varieties of percussion solos are evaluated with the percussion solo sheet. Both of these sheets have been designed specifically to accommodate the unique nature of the instruments in the percussion family. All 4 of the comment sheets are set up to be used from left to right, with 9 assessment categories on the left-hand side, followed by an area in the middle of the sheet to make specific remarks and comments, as well as referencing specific measures in the music. The area on the far right of the sheet is used to assign point totals to each assessment category that aligns with the specific comments in the middle of the sheet, and the rubric describing each specific point total. Be sure that you make comments that can be used by the students and directors to improve future performances, and provide justification for your rating. Make encouraging comments as well as critical ones. If you do nothing more than check ratings boxes, you are not providing an assessment that can be used to enhance instruction. Ask yourself, if the numbers were removed from the sheet, what would this student or students get from my assessment? The rubric used to determine the point totals in each category is divided into 7 possible results. Assigning a 1 to a category would indicate a performance that was outstanding in nearly every detail. This does not mean a perfect performance, but one that demonstrates obvious proficiency in preparation. A 1.5 would indicate some minor flaws, but still a very polished and accomplished performance. A 2 would indicate frequent minor flaws, meaning that the performance in that area was a little less polished, with some inconsistencies in preparation evident. A 2.5 is described as some major flaws, indicative of a more inconsistent performance with less than careful preparation evident. The last 3 point values, 3 frequent major flaws, 3.5 continuous major flaws, and 4 unacceptable in nearly every detail, should be used sparingly, if at all, except in obvious cases of careless performance and preparation. When using this rubric to assign point values to the 9 categories, it is important to keep in mind that the numbers should be an accurate reflection of the comments you provided in the middle column of the sheet. Positive complimentary comments followed by a 2.5 in a category is confusing to the director and performer, and it is also difficult to justify. Conversely, a rubric with all ones and no supportive comments is equally frustrating for the director and performer looking for a thorough formative assessment. Be aware also that your tolerance level for what constitutes each of the point values should be adjusted depending on the group level of the event and experience level of the performer. In other words, the level of achievement expected to receive a 1 is not the same in group 4 or 5 as it is in group 2 or 1. We will begin our examination of the assessment sheets by first looking at the instrumental ensemble sheet used for all woodwind, brass, and string ensemble events. This sheet is very similar in makeup to the sheet used for concert organization events. The sheets share common categories and descriptors. You are just dealing with smaller ensemble sizes at solo and ensemble events. Let's take a look at each of the 9 categories, their descriptors, and items for you to consider as you formulate an evaluation in each category. Category 1 deals with intonation, the realization and accuracy of pitch within the ensemble. In this category, you are to consider 3 levels of intonation: individual, section, and full ensemble. You should be aware of opportunities throughout the performance to evaluate all 3 levels and also how the 3 are interrelated. Section evaluation will only be possible in the larger ensembles, while individual and ensemble pitch can be evaluated no matter the size of the group. It is beneficial to know basic pitch tendencies of each instrument, the problem notes, and will be helpful to the performer for you to provide suggestions on how to compensate for those notes on an individual basis to provide greater opportunities for successful pitch on an ensemble level. Comments such as, "You aren't in tune, listen to each other," does not provide the student or director with enough information for significant improvement. When judging string ensembles, be careful not to mistake wrong notes caused by finger or hand position concerns for incorrect intonation. Always keep in mind what age and group level you are evaluating and have realistic expectations about the level of pitch accuracy that you can expect from the ensemble. Category 2 refers to tone quality, the timbre or color of sound produced by the ensemble. Descriptors to consider in reference to tone quality include resonance, control, clarity, focus, consistency, warmth, breath control for winds, and bow control for strings. The assessment of tone quality can be approached in much the same way as intonation, on the individual, section, and ensemble level. Be visually observant as well as aurally observant, since such things as posture, ensemble setup, embouchure development, and hand, finger, or bow position can have an impact on the quality of sound you are hearing. Again, it is important to not only identify concerns, but to also evaluate what may have caused them and provide suggestions on how to improve. Vibrato for upper level groups, especially in strings, would also be an appropriate expectation. Once again, age, group level, and experience of the ensemble will factor into your expectations of what constitutes good ensemble tone quality. Category 3 refers to articulation and the different types of tonguing and bowing techniques used to produce various styles of articulation found in the performance. Consider such articulations as tenuto, marcato, staccato, legato, accents, and slurs, as well as examples such as pizzicato, détaché, or tremolo, specifically unique to strings. Listen and assess how successfully the students are producing these different articulations and if they are matching that production from person to person within the ensemble. When judging strings, check to see that the students are matching both bow placement and the amount of bow being used to create the desired articulation, as well as if they are starting and stopping the bow together. Offer feedback on the clarity and consistency of the articulation style being displayed. Consider also the clarity, accuracy, and consistency of attacks and releases as related to ensemble clarity and precision. Category number 4 concerns note accuracy. In this category, you should not just ask yourself, did they play the right notes? You should also consider whether the ensemble displayed the technique and mechanical skills necessary to meet the technical demands of the music. Consider if the ensemble accurately played within the key signature or tonal center of the piece, as well as observing and accurately performing accidentals outside the key. Evaluate the fluency and clarity of runs and highly technical passages. For strings, a decision will need to be made again as to whether you are hearing wrong notes or inaccurate intonation. Have realistic expectations depending on the age and group level of the students, but also be consistent in expecting the ensemble to perform the music they are presenting. Category 5, rhythmic accuracy, can be thought of and approached in much the same manner as note accuracy. It's not enough to ask, did they play the right rhythms? You should consider how well the ensemble plays within the established pulse of the music, the accuracy and correct duration of notes and rest values, the clarity and fluency of such techniques as syncopations, polyrhythms, and hemiola, and the demonstration of the correct meter and/or meter changes within the music. Consider how well the ensemble demonstrates and handles the rhythmic pulse of the music, not only from a horizontal standpoint, but vertically as well. Ask yourself, are all the parts lining up the way they need to? Younger, less experienced students will have a tendency to rush the rhythmic pulse due to nerves and other factors, especially on repeated note passages. Interpretation and musicianship, Category 6, encompasses a great many elements of performance. It may also be one of the most difficult categories to evaluate while remaining objective and unbiased. When evaluating this category, consider not only if the ensemble is playing what is on the page, but also if they are taking the music to a higher level of understanding and performance. This level of achievement will once again be tied to age, experience, and group level entered. In terms of style, evaluate if the ensemble is presenting the music in the correct style or genre. There are definite differences in stylistic practices between Baroque, classical, and 20th century music. The style being displayed should match the intent of the piece. Phrasing is defined as a group of notes performed together as one musical thought. When evaluating phrasing, consider how well the ensemble phrased together, how well they gave shape and direction to each phrase, and how successful the ensemble was in connecting one phrase to the next, giving the entire performance direction. String players should be checked to see if they are all using the same part of the bow for more accurate phrase matching. Accuracy of tempo is very important in the interpretation of the music. If a piece is marked at quarter note equals 160, and the ensemble performs it at quarter note equals 100, that is a significant change to the character and in many cases difficulty level of the music. Slight tempo variations to the indicated tempo should not be seen as a big problem as long as it doesn't change the character or intent of the music. Expression and emotional involvement are those elements not necessarily indicated on the page, but are those things brought to life by the performers working together to make a musically pleasing moment for the audience. Remember to keep an open mind when evaluating this category, as there can be more than one interpretation of a piece. When considering Category 7, Dynamics, listen for the demonstration of an appropriate range of dynamic levels and contrast by individuals, sections, and full ensemble. Evaluate if the dynamic you see on the score is the one being performed, and is the ensemble consistent in their approach to displaying a full range of dynamic levels? If there are multiple dynamic levels occurring at the same time in different parts, is the ensemble displaying a sensitivity to those differences? Consider how well the ensemble controls and supports all dynamic levels. Does the ensemble display the appropriate contrast on crescendos and decrescendos and subito changes in volume? Finally, consider if the dynamics displayed by the ensemble have contributed to a musically pleasing performance. Dynamics are another area, much like tone quality and intonation, where the expectation level should be increased with the age, experience level, and group level of the ensemble. Balance and blend, Category 8, is really two separate musical elements. Balance refers to such descriptions as the projection of the melodic line versus the accompaniment parts, and equal presentation of all members of chords or of contrapuntal polyphonic lines. Be sensitive to listening for the lower-pitched instruments in the ensemble balance, as they often do not project as well as higher-pitched instruments. Blend refers to a group playing in such a way as to produce a characteristic sound, without individual instruments standing out. The sounds from different members of the ensemble are merged so that the overall sound is greater than that of the individuals. It is important to listen for and make comments about both of these elements that are so similar yet so different. The final category, Other Factors, provides the adjudicator an opportunity to evaluate and assess some of the logistical or aesthetic areas of the performance not wholly related to elements contained in the written music. Descriptors include posture, appearance relating to performance, and general conduct. It is important for an adjudicator to be both orally and visually observant during the performance, as often what you see and observe visually can go a long way in helping explain what you're hearing in a performance. Be observant about such things as ensemble setup, communication between the players of the ensemble, correct posture, both seated and standing. While there are no rules to dictate what constitutes appropriate dress, comments concerning appearance as it relates to the performance are applicable. This category also offers an opportunity to evaluate the appropriateness of the literature selected for the performance in any given group level, and any cuts made in the music and the effect those cuts have on the overall presentation. Next, we will examine the instrumental solo sheet, which is used for all solo events in the woodwind, brass, and string families. Most of the categories and descriptors for this sheet are the same or very similar to those found on the instrumental ensemble sheet. The major difference, of course, is that you are evaluating only one performer. Let's take a look at each of the 9 categories, their descriptors, and items for you to consider as you formulate an evaluation in each category. Category 1 deals with intonation, the realization and accuracy of pitch. In this category, you are to consider if the soloist's instrument is in tune, if the soloist is in tune with the accompanist, if one is used, and how well the soloist controls and adjusts pitch, especially on the problem notes of their particular instrument. For wind instruments, be visually observant about embouchure formation, breathing, and posture. For strings, check hand and finger position and placement. Also be aware that, especially with younger players, the instrument they are using may have a significant impact on their ability to play well in tune. Expectations for accurate pitch should increase with the group level. Category 2 refers to tone quality, the timbre or color of sound produced by the performer. Descriptors to consider in reference to tone quality include resonance, control, clarity, focus, consistency, warmth, breath control for winds, and bow control for strings. The assessment of tone quality can be approached in much the same way as intonation. Be visually observant as well as orally observant, since such things as posture, embouchure formation, hand and finger position, or bow position, grip, pressure, and speed can have an impact on the quality of sound you're hearing. Again, it is important to not only identify concerns, but to also evaluate what may have caused them and provide suggestions on how to improve. Vibrato for upper-level performers, especially in strings, would also be an appropriate expectation. Once again, age, group level, experience of the performer, and quality of instrument will factor into your expectations of what constitutes good tone quality. Category 3 refers to articulation and the different types of tonguing and bowing techniques used to produce various styles of articulation found in the performance. Consider such articulations as tenuto, marcato, staccato, legato, accents, and slurs, as well as examples such as pizzicato, détaché, or tremolo specifically unique to strings. Listen and assess how successfully the performer is producing these different articulations. When judging strings, check to see that the performer is using correct bow placement and the correct amount of bow to create the desired articulation. Offer feedback on the clarity and consistency of the articulation style being displayed. Consider also the clarity, accuracy, and consistency of attacks and releases as related to the precision of the performance. Category 4 concerns note accuracy. In this category, you should not just ask yourself, did they play all the right notes? You should also consider whether the performer displayed the technique and mechanical skills necessary to meet the technical demands of the music. Consider if the soloist accurately played within the key signature or tonal center of the piece, as well as observing and accurately performing accidentals outside the key. Evaluate the fluency and clarity of runs and highly technical passages. For strings, a decision will need to be made again as to whether you are hearing wrong notes or inaccurate intonation. Visually observe hand and finger position frequently during the performance. Have realistic expectations depending on the age and group level of the students, but also be consistent in expecting the soloist to perform the music they are presenting. Category 5, rhythmic accuracy, can be thought of and approached in much the same manner as note accuracy. It is not enough to ask, did they play all of the right rhythms? You should consider how well the soloist plays within the established pulse of the music, the accuracy and correct duration of note and rest values, the clarity and fluency of such techniques as syncopations, polyrhythms, and hemiola, and the demonstration of the correct meter and or meter changes within the music. Consider how well the performer demonstrates and handles the rhythmic pulse of the music, not only from a horizontal standpoint, but vertically as well. Ask yourself, are the soloist and the accompanist together and locked in to their rhythmic pulse? Younger, less experienced students will have a tendency to rush the pulse due to nerves and other factors, especially on repeated note passages. Make sure the focus stays on the soloist and not the accompanist. Interpretation, Category 6, encompasses a great many elements of performance. As was stated in the ensemble sheet analysis, it may also be one of the most difficult categories to evaluate while remaining objective and unbiased. When evaluating this category, consider not only if the performer is playing what is on the page, but also if they're taking the music to a higher level of understanding and performance. This level of achievement will once again be tied to age, experience, and group level entered. In terms of style, evaluate if the soloist is presenting the music in the correct style or genre. The style being displayed should match the intent of the piece. Listen and be observant for correct interpretation and performance of the ornaments in the music, depending on the era or genre of the piece. Accuracy of tempo is very important in the interpretation of the music. Once again, if a piece is marked at quarter note equals 160 and the performer plays it at a quarter note equals 100, that's a significant change to the character and in many cases difficulty level of the music. Slight tempo variations to the indicated tempos should not be seen as a big problem, as long as it doesn't change the character or intent of the music. Remember to keep an open mind when evaluating this category, as there can be more than one interpretation of a piece. When considering Category 7, Dynamics, listen for the demonstration of an appropriate range of dynamic levels and contrast by the soloist. Evaluate if the dynamic you see on the score is the one being performed, and if the performer is consistent in their approach to displaying a full range of dynamic levels. Does the soloist display the appropriate contrast on crescendos and decrescendos and subito changes in volume? Observe string soloists on their handling and placement of the bow when attempting to play various dynamic levels. Dynamics are another area, much like tone quality and intonation, where the expectation level should be increased with the age, experience level, and group level of the soloist. Category 8 explores musicianship. You should consider elements such as expression, nuance, phrasing, and emotional involvement. Phrasing is defined as a group of notes performed together as one musical thought. When evaluating phrasing, consider how well the performer gave shape and direction to each phrase, and how successful the soloist was in connecting one phrase to the next, giving the entire performance direction. Expression and emotional involvement are those elements not necessarily indicated on the page, but are those things brought to life by the soloist and accompanist working together to make a musically pleasing moment. Remember to keep an open mind when evaluating this category, as there can be more than one interpretation of a piece. The final category, Other Factors, provides the adjudicator an opportunity to evaluate and assess some of the logistical or aesthetic areas of the performance not wholly related to elements contained in the written music. Descriptors, including posture, appearance relating to the performance, and general conduct. It is important for an adjudicator to be both orally and visually observant during the performance, as often what you see and observe visually can go a long way in helping explain what you are hearing in a performance. While there are no rules to dictate what constitutes appropriate dress, comments concerning appearance as it relates to the performance are applicable. This category also offers an opportunity to evaluate the appropriateness of the literature selected for performance in any given group level, and any cuts made in the music and the effect those cuts have on the overall presentation. Now that we have examined in detail the different sheets for all instrumental solo and ensemble events, and the things to look and listen for during the performances, let's examine what should take place after the performance is complete. First, make sure that each category has written comments, including specific references and measure numbers, and has also been given a point value. Points in each category are then added and written in the total points line. Next, based on the total number of points, you will then circle the correct rating that reflects the point total. The bottom portion of the sheet and the back of the sheet, if necessary, should be used to write suggestions for overall improvement. Finally, to complete the sheet, circle any infraction that occurred at the bottom of the sheet, then sign your name on the line labeled Judge's Signature. Once you have completed filling out the evaluation sheet for an event, indicate the correct rating earned for that event on the metal voucher card provided. Return the music, score sheet, and metal voucher card to your judge's assistant so that they may pass them along to the doorkeeper and/or office runner. You may hold the sheets for the first 3 events of the day if you feel it necessary to help set your judging tolerance for the day. Be sure to keep a record of the ratings you assign for every event, so that you can accurately complete the judge's summary sheet, which you will turn in to contest headquarters at the end of the day. Let's now examine some do's and don'ts of solo and ensemble adjudication. Do establish and maintain a relaxed, comfortable climate and atmosphere in your room. Be friendly and attempt to put students, accompanists, parents, and teachers at ease. Remember, people need to know how much you care before they care how much you know. Don't show partiality or familiarity. What may seem funny or engaging to you may not be taken that way by a student or parent already facing an anxious situation. Also, please avoid asking such questions as, how old are you? What grade are you in? Who is your teacher? And do you study privately? Do know and understand the rules and guidelines for the event you are adjudicating. Specific instructions can be found in the ISSMA Festival Manual, the solo and ensemble required music lists, and the briefing materials you received at the festival site during the judges' meeting. Don't create or interpret rules to accommodate your personal desires or beliefs, or to make a situation more convenient. If you are in doubt about a specific rule, listen to the group first, adjudicate the event through written comments with no point assessment, and then check with event headquarters for an interpretation before providing a score. Do not, however, listen to any event for which you do not have a prepared adjudication sheet. If a soloist or ensemble appears for whom you don't have a sheet, send them immediately to the contest headquarters. Do use the whole assessment tool. Each of the 9 categories has equal weight in the final rating and therefore has equal importance in the overall evaluation. Don't dwell or focus on certain areas of the assessment sheet that may be your pet peeves or areas you feel are the most important. While students may have more numerous performance concerns in certain categories, remember to treat each category equally. Do maintain good time management in your room schedule. Stay in performance sequence as much as possible, but if there are DNAs or performers with other conflicts, ask for the next event. A brief thank you or comments of encouragement after the performance are okay, as long as there is time in the schedule. Don't fall behind in the time schedule by giving lengthy private lessons. Let the comments that you write on the sheet speak for themselves. Do write comments in the specific remarks column for each category first. Then use those comments and the rubric to determine the points assigned in each category. Your numbers and point total should match the comments you make. Don't manipulate or make points fit a preconceived notion of what constitutes a particular rating. Saying to yourself that something sounded like a 14.5 silver and then assigning points to fit that determination runs contrary to the intent and purpose of the assessment sheet for this event. Do be visually observant as well as orally observant. Acknowledge the performers both before and after the performance, as well as occasionally referencing the performance visually while it's going on. Many problems that you hear during the performance may be a direct or indirect result of issues that you can observe visually, such as poor posture, incorrect hand and finger position, or weak embouchure formation. Don't bury your head in the music or the score sheet. It's important to stay connected with the performers and let them know you're interested in listening. A judge that never looks up misses out on this important element of the evaluative process. Do make specific remarks and reference measure numbers during your evaluation. Maintain a balance of positive and critical comments. Teachers and students will be more likely to gain from an assessment that avoids being overly critical, but that also acknowledges elements of strong achievement. Make sure you provide a quality formative assessment by following the 3 C's of evaluation: compliment, criticize, and provide a course for improvement. Don't make general or generic comments without citing specific examples for support. Such comments as fine, well done, could be better, or flat don't provide much in the way of an educational assessment for the student or the director if specific examples in the music or measure numbers are not cited, or if there are no suggestions for improvement. When serving as an adjudicator in an ISSMA solo and ensemble event, it's important to remember that you are an agent of the association and are therefore representing ISSMA in your promptness, courtesy, dress and deportment, and your interactions with the host, the volunteer workers from the school, such as runners and doorkeepers, your fellow adjudicators, the directors, and the students of the participating schools. Set a good example for performance etiquette by remaining at your station and making sure your electronic devices are silenced during the performances. Do not use this event as an opportunity to recruit students for your school, private studio, or website by distributing materials, brochure, or contact information. Thank you for taking the time to complete this Phase 2 endorsement training for instrumental solo and ensemble events. I also want to thank the directors and adjudicators that contributed to the information presented in this video. Now it is time to test your knowledge of what you have learned by completing a short true-false questionnaire. We hope you hear many musically pleasing performances as an adjudicator, and we appreciate your continued interest in ISSMA and the students and teachers of our member schools that we strive to serve.